13 days into the month of July, the year 2020, a day when we ask how much should go to the counties and which formula should be used to help Kenya understand how to distribute funds to the counties. Today's Senate is going to be having a special sitting this coming afternoon. We'll be letting you know whether they will approve the Division of Revenue Bill that will see to it that counties will receive their funds. It's coming at a time when there is a division on which formula is to be used when it comes to the allocation of funds to the counties. Two proposals so far. The one that is being fronted by the Commission on Revenue Allocation, and the other is being fronted by the Senate Finance and Budget Committee. We'll be giving you details about this particular story, among others that we have been working on for you. It's a comprehensive news bulletin, so welcome on board. My name is Serfine Achieng, and our sign language interpreter is Simon Karodha. We begin straight away. Senate, a major showdown is looming in the Senate as legislators hold a special sitting to agree on a formula for revenue sharing among county governments. The senators have been at loggerheads over how to divide 316 billion amid a protracted battle between counties that will lose billions of shillings and those gaining as proposed by the Commission of Revenue Allocation.
The Division of Revenue Bill aimed at unlocking cash for counties could be approved in Monday's special sitting of the Senate if senators agree on the third basis formula. Senators are expected to pass the controversial revenue sharing formula, which has split members, leading to a stalemate and delaying disbursement of money to cash-strapped counties. The proposed formula, which has majorly axed senators from marginalized counties, largely favors populous counties and takes away part of the money that marginalized counties have been receiving.
The other day in a meeting, somebody asked, what did Turkana do with the money all the years? I want to ask, what did Kiambu do with the money since the independence? All the money has been pumped there.
What the framers of this mythical Linturi formula are doing is that they are denying us pastoralists. They are denying the people of Nairobi and the people of Mombasa money. We use different parameters. They have reduced the parameter of urban to 4%, which means they deny the people of Nairobi and the people of Mombasa money.
It is the formula in question that has led to the stalemate, as senators are divided over the right approach to take in sharing revenue.
Wale ambao wanafaa kupatiwa wapatiwe, lakini haki yetu hatuwezi kubali haki yetu kuchukuliwa kama sisi iko hai.
The conversation we are having here is as though these formulas are coming from outer space. You know, these formulas are done by people. People can sit down and work out formulas that ensure, at the very minimum, no county loses a single cent.
In a move to end the stalemate, Senate Majority Leader Samuel Pogisio has convened a Senators' Caucus ahead of the afternoon session to sway disgruntled senators towards supporting the bill that, if not timely passed, could create a constitutional crisis. According to the formula proposed by the Senate Finance and Budget Committee, an improvement of one proposed by the Commission of Revenue Allocation, 18 counties are set to lose up to 17 billion shillings. For Channel 1 News, I'm Gladys Mungai.
And questions arising will be answered today as Senate is expected to be having a special sitting this afternoon. We'll make sure that you do not miss the proceedings. Now, moving on, both state and non-state actors are intensifying efforts aimed at fighting the COVID-19 outbreak. The state has moved with speed to provide training to hundreds of frontline workers to enhance their capacity to handle COVID-19. In Samburu County, police officers were trained on how to keep themselves out of harm's way.
Officials from the National Gun Owners Association carried out training for more than 100 police officers on COVID-19 in Maralal Town, Samburu County, led by Mustaki Sak. The officials said police officers are on the front line during emergencies just like health workers, a situation that puts them at risk of being infected with the COVID-19 disease. Samburu Central Sub-County Police Commander Alex Sylvester Rotich said the training will equip the officers with skills on how to don the protective gear. More than 7,000 officers in 33 counties nationally have benefited from the training sessions against COVID-19 organized by different teams from the National Gun Owners Association.
And make the police officers in this region aware of the COVID-19. Hii ndio imetuleta hapo ndio tuweze kuelimisha officers waweze kujikinga kwanza dhidi ya corona, because we believe police officers, just like the medics, hao ndio kwa front line. So ni muhimu kwanza kabisa wajikinge, wakinge station zao, wajikinge from colleagues one another, then the community at large.
Tena tumepata kupata vifaa ya kutumia ile tutakuwa tukispray magari na masels.
In the meantime, a section of clerics from the Pentecostal churches in Mombasa are opposed to the protocols put in place to enable reopening of places of worship, saying some of the conditions are not practical to implement. Meeting under the Pastors' Fellowship of the Pentecostal Churches, Mombasa County, they said the government announcement that the prayer sanctuaries will reopen in phases was a great blessing, but doubted the practicability of social distancing directives. Led by their chairman, Apostle Wilton Odila, they said they are opposed to, among other things, the holding of church services within 1 hour, only 100 persons allowed to participate per service, and the 1.5 meter social distancing between congregants. Wilton said they are ready to resume church services, but they were not prepared to follow the new set regulations aimed at fighting the COVID-19 disease in the places of worship.
Kamati iliyoketi chini kuzungumzia mambo haya ikaweze kuangalia tena, maana mengine hayakubaliani na imani yetu.
Yusuf Farah, Channel 1 News.
And now on to matters security. Communities living along the Kenya-Somali border have resolved to work together and support security agencies in efforts aimed at enhancing security within the region. Speaking during a 2-day peace and security meeting held in Wajir County, Area Governor Ambassador Mohamed Abdi challenged the residents to pursue peaceful coexistence in a bid to foster development. The Kenya-Somali border has witnessed increased criminality, with residents and security agencies bearing the brunt of frequent attacks by Al-Shabaab militants. The obtaining situation saw residents of Konton and guerrilla communities hold a 2-day peace and security meeting in Wajir County as they sought solutions to the insecurity problem within the region. Speaking during the meeting, which was organized by the Kenyan government through the National Drought Management Authority, Wajir County Governor Ambassador Mohamed Abdi and Wajir County Commissioner Jacob Narengo challenged area residents to cooperate with security agencies in addressing security challenges and work towards peaceful coexistence along the borderline.
Ningependa watu wetu pande mbili yote wahakikisha ya kwamba ile shida kati yetu hasa inaletwa na hao watu ya ambao wanaitwa AS, tunataka tushirikiane pamoja, tuhakikishe ya kwamba wao wanaenda mahali wametoka.
Borderline ama border yetu na Somalia kuanzia Girile mpaka Burache ambaye iko na amani, watu wanaambiana ukweli na hakuna mtu anasumbua mwingine.
Leaders present calling on communities to work collectively in flushing out terror groups operating within the region.
They have a big problem, which we equally have, the issue of insecurity. Insecurity from a global terrorist, you know it. It's there, it is with us. It is not their making, it is not our making, but we need to develop a collective strategies to curb that menace.
Elders MP Adan Kainan on his part hailed Kenya's efforts in promoting regional peace and security and for opening its borders to millions of refugees.
Since Somalia plunged into a civil war, Kenya has been host to millions of refugees. No country will ever do that, and Kenya has suffered as a result of that. And therefore, the best reward that you can give to the Republic of Kenya and the people who are affected because of the civil war in Somalia is to appreciate the kindness, the good neighborliness, and say, thank you, our brothers, thank you, our sisters, for the kind gesture, and collectively work for the security of the people of Kenya.
The meeting that was attended by top security officials, religious leaders, community elders, among others, saw 9 resolutions passed to enhance security in the interest of the communities living within the region. And police in Matungulu have launched investigations after a couple allegedly committed suicide in their home in Kaumoni village in Machakos County. The bodies of Dennis Pius, aged 28 years, and his girlfriend Susan Ndeto, who is 19 years, were found dangling from the roof by their parents, who reported the matter to the police. The young couple allegedly committed suicide on Sunday after traveling from the city's Kayole estate at their home in Kaumoni village. Kithuani Assistant Chief Sarah Mutua says they were found dead with ropes on their necks. The Assistant Chief saying the 2 lovebirds had returned home from Kayole in Nairobi on Friday and were staying at the man's house in Kaumoni. According to the police, the girl's mother received a call from her daughter at around 11 a.m. on Sunday, but later their phones went off, which forced the mother to travel from Kayole, where they found their lifeless bodies inside the man's bedroom. According to their neighbor, Pius Wambua, the couple was spotted in the morning and none of them seemed to have issues, but the room went silent as from lunchtime. No suicide note was recovered from the scene. Police transferred the bodies to Kangundo Hospital mortuary as investigations into the incident commenced in earnest. Caroline Kamau reporting for Channel 1 Lunchtime News. A really sad ending there. Now we move on. Labour and Social Protection Cabinet Secretary Simon Chelugui says the government has rolled out a nationwide registration exercise through the Social Protection Fund that seeks to cushion vulnerable communities. Chelugui says the funds will target senior, non-pensionable Kenyans aged over 70 years, as well as orphans and persons with disabilities, will help in providing support in education to orphans and facilitating walking aids to those with mobility challenges.
The coronavirus pandemic has created a new normal, occasioning a host of challenges with vulnerable communities suffering the brunt. Labour and Social Protection Cabinet Secretary Simon Chelugui says the government has mapped out every constituency where 100 persons will be registered in the first phase, translating to 29,000 beneficiaries across the country.
We would provide support in education, in facilitation, especially those who are not able to, giving them aids and walking tools to support them, so that Kenyans are equally treated na kila mtu ajivunie nchi yao.
Initially, the program was targeting informal settlements in counties that were under lockdown, but with the lifting of the ban, the program will now be rolled out across the country in an effort to cushion vulnerable communities from the adverse effects of COVID-19. The Social Protection Fund was introduced in June 2013 with its objective of ensuring all Kenyans live in dignity and exploit their human capabilities for their own social and economic development. Since the introduction of the fund, most vulnerable people and the elderly have been able to put a smile on their faces.
Na hii pesa imesaidia wamama wasiokuwa na kitu, wamesaidia wazee wasio na kitu. Hata hapa Pokot ni chakula yetu ilikuwa ni ng'ombe, lakini ng'ombe akisha mzee geseka vijana wanapeleka mbali, sasa mzee anapaki nyuma pamoja na mkewe, na kwa hivyo hii pesa imetusaidia.
Yusuf Farah, Channel 1 News.
All right, remember we are also following up for you on efforts that are being put in place to mitigate the spread of COVID-19. This is after, as at yesterday, we surpassed the 10,000 mark in the positive cases of COVID-19. We are going to be taking a very short break. We are coming back with much more.
When the world changed, it made us go back to the simple joys and love the little things even more, like serving up your best, eating together, and sharing more. Now, we'll take nothing for granted and always remember to taste the simple joys. Coca-Cola. Taste the simple joys.
Hamjambo Wakenya wenzangu. Mimi ni Mheshimiwa Mize. Ninalotaka kuambia ni kuwasihi ya kwamba korona iko. Na ili tupigane nayo na tuishinde, ukitoka nje, ukifika kule nje, kuna hata maji yamewekwa nje na serikali. Unanawa mikono kwa maji na sabuni. Na maji yenyewe yawe ni yale ya kutiririka. Pale unaponawa, unaangalia usafi wako wa mikono, unaosha huku nje ya viganja, unasugua katikati ya vidole, pia huku kwenye kucha, manake uchafu wajifiche huku kwenye kucha. Uoshe, kisha sunza na maji yanayotiririka. Maji yakimwaika, kusema kweli tutashinda. Tuzingatie na tutii sheria. Korona tunaishinda, na baadaye maisha yatarudi kama kawaida wa Kenya.
Welcome back, and thank you so much for keeping us company. Kyle Kevin watching us from Nyeri County, and also new to you're saying you're watching us from Shanzu in Mombasa, and Histon Bonaya watching Ndania Marembo Express Massive. Thank you so much for creating time for us. Now we move on. Nominated Member of Parliament David Ole Sankok want the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission to probe legislators who perennially fail to attend parliamentary sessions. Sankok, who was rated among the top performing MPs by a report authored by Mzalendo Trust, says it was immoral for his colleagues to abdicate their duties while enjoying perks courtesy of the electorate.
In the report released last week by Mzalendo Trust agencies, Subanov MP Millie Odhiambo emerged top in terms of contribution in the National Assembly, followed by nominated MP David Sankok, who represents persons with disabilities. In amid raging debate over the contents of the report, Sankok has now hit at his colleagues who failed to attend House sittings.
Wala ambao wanasema sijui Mzalendo wamefanya vibaya, ati hao haongei bunge kwa sababu kuna Kiingereza mingi bunge na wako sawa kwa ground. Kwani wewe ni contractor? Kwani wewe ni mtu wa mkono? Hata CDF yenyewe iko na fund manager, iko na chairman wa CDF. Sasa unataka hao wafanye kazi gani kama wewe unaenda kwa ground?
Sankok saying he has always been attending parliamentary sittings as it is his duty to represent the over 6.4 million Kenyans with disabilities.
Issues of person with disabilities are cross-cutting. Wakati ambao wanaleta gender top-up rule, lazima nikuwe hapo hiyo sheria ikitengenezwe. Nikiseme ama niulize nafasi ya wa mama walemavu iko wapi? Wakati ambao wanaleta sheria ya vijana, lazima nikuwe hapo. Niseme pia kuna vijana ambao wako walemavu.
This even as he urged the electorate to make use of the report to vote out leaders who failed to focus on their interests in parliament. Yusuf Fora, Channel 1 News.
The United States has recorded over 56,000 new coronavirus cases, including at least 15,000 in the state of Florida, pushing the nationwide total to over 3.4 million cases, with more than 137,000 deaths. Over 13 million people around the world have been diagnosed with COVID-19, and almost 571,000 have succumbed, according to a tally by Johns Hopkins University. All right, and now I told you we are tracking for you the progress made in mitigating the spread of COVID-19 in the country. And today, there was the flagging off of COVID-19 rapid response health emergency vehicles to 13 high-risk counties, currently happening at Afya House in Nairobi. Let's just go straight in and listen in to what the health CS Mutahi Kagwe is saying.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Let me welcome you to this presser for today to look at a number of things regarding COVID-19 but also at the same time, we also have an opportunity to talk about some of the work we are doing and launch some vehicles. And I want to take this opportunity to also welcome His Excellency Governor Togos here. Karibu sana. And fellow Kenyans, as you have noticed over the last couple of days, we have observed a surge of cases. And even though this is what is happening, I still want to urge calm and to say that as opposed to popular opinion, or opinion in some cases, we are in control. The counties are still in control, and God has been kind that we have not been overrun by the demands. The health system is still functioning in a manner that we are happy about. Obviously, we have challenges, as can be expected, but so far, we are managing to do what needs to be done. But one of the aspects that is crucial in the management of COVID-19, obviously, is contact tracing. Fellow Kenyans, contact tracing is a critical tool for controlling the pandemic through interruption of transmission chain by early detection of the isolation and isolating the cases. At the time of response to an alert on a suspected case, contacts are listed for follow-up, and investigation and close contacts are tested, and the rest are followed for 14 days. I must say that this has not been an easy task. I congratulate our rapid response and surveillance teams for this great work they have been and continue to do. Initially, we were using telephone calls to get in touch with the contacts, but we are now rolling out a web-based application which is linked to the Kenya Electronic Medical Records. All the counties are required to have rapid response contact tracing. So far, there are 229 teams all around the country and in all counties. The National Response and Contact Tracing Team is currently conducting training for those teams on the usage of the web-based tool and data management. One of the biggest challenges is logistics support, including transport for the county and some county teams. Ladies and gentlemen, today, as we continue the fight, I'm delighted that the contact tracing team is receiving a major boost from our development partners. It is my pleasure to preside the handover ceremony and distribution of rapid response vehicles to various counties. These vehicles have been procured by the COVID-19 Health Emergency Response Project in my ministry at a cost of some 200 million shillings. Transport has been one of the key challenges identified, especially in accessing the rural areas as the government works at providing quality health care. These vehicles, to be handed over to 13 counties, will boost capacity in contact tracing and surveillance as we work to curtail the spread of the virus in the country. The counties identified to benefit from this support include Nairobi, which will get some 2 vehicles, one for Kenyatta National Hospital and the other for the newly formed Nairobi Metropolitan Services. Others are Mombasa, Kiambu, Kajiado, Machakos, Nyeri, Migori, Busia, Uasin Gishu, Nakuru, Taita Taveta, Elgeyo Marakwet, and Kisii. The overall project and the outcomes are designed to assist counties to prevent, detect, and respond to the threat posed by COVID-19. and then to strengthen the national system for public health preparedness and responsiveness. The project was selected for COVID-19 financing because of the strategic place Kenya holds when it comes to global connectivity and travel and the risks posed. The project is provided through the World Bank Group Fast Track Facility as part of the global COVID-19 multi-phase program approach. Swift detection of an outbreak, assessment of its epidemic potential, and rapid emergency response can reduce avoidable mortality and morbidity, reduce the economic, social, and security impacts. Failure in the rapid mobilization of financing and coordination of response results in unnecessary casualties and significant socio-economic consequences. By focusing on the containment, diagnosis, and treatment of patients, the proposed project seeks to control the disease outbreak and limit the socio-economic losses. Critical interventions are needed to reduce morbidity and mortality rates from existing and emerging infections, curtail the outbreak of COVID-19, and mitigate the social impacts of the outbreak. The development of the National COVID-19 Preparedness and Response Plan includes strengthening of Public Health Emergency Operations Center for the effective, efficient emergency response for multiple hazards, strengthening surveillance and information systems. It also aims at increasing laboratory capacity, improving infection and prevention control, as well as case management, improve disease surveillance, and emergency response in the country. Turning to COVID-19 statistics today, we had a challenge with our server because of power outages, but nonetheless, we still managed to test some 1,205 samples, out of which 189 people have tested positive in the last 24 hours. Thus, we have now 10,294 people who have now tested positive in the country. This pushes our cumulative figures to 216,242. 106 of those are male, when 83 are female, or the youngest is 5 and the oldest is 71. Nairobi continues to have the higher figures, recording 147, Kiambu at 20, Machakos 11, Kajiado 5, Mombasa 2. Obviously, because of the challenges that we had, it means that we are holding samples that we have not tested in the last 24 hours. And these things happen. As you will remember, yesterday we had the highest figure at over 7,000 tests. The distribution of these cases in terms of sub-counties, especially for Nairobi, are that Dagoretti North has 77 cases. Embakasi East has 10, Madaraka has 10, Embakasi South has 9, Kibra has 9, Embakasi West 6, Langata 4, Kamukunji and Kasarani all have recorded cases. And in Kiambu, the 20 cases come from Kikuyu, and 2 cases. Machakos have 11, mainly in the Athi River area, and in fact in a place as far as Masinga has now recorded cases. Gatundu South, Githunguri, Juja, Rimuru have all got a case now. In Kajiado North has 4 cases. At the same time, I'm glad to inform you that 65 patients have been discharged from our various hospitals, bringing the total to close to 3,000 at 2,946. the number of recoveries in the country so far. However, today, I'm also saddened to inform you that we have lost one of the higher numbers at 12. 12 patients have died as a result of COVID-19. All the 12 are here in Nairobi. 3 of the cases actually died at home, and the rest of them are in the various hospitals, which tells you, ladies and gentlemen, that the people being affected are more, as expected. As you can see, the patient's age is across the board. And all these deaths are from essentially community-based deaths. And this is the number, this is the highest number of fatalities that we have recorded in a single day. That is not good news, and our condolences go to the families of those who have lost loved ones. Finally, I would like to now hand over the vehicles that we have been given. But before I do so, that we are giving away, sorry. But before I do so, let me pose for 1 or 2 questions. So because when we do, we will not be coming back. Yes.
I am Mark Namasa from KTN News. On Friday, we did a spot check at Mbagathi and Kemri. We were told that if you wanted to walk in and get tested, you go to KNH and pay 5,000 shillings. My question is, what about people who cannot afford that amount? Because we found a family of 7, and they said they had been in contact with a positive case, and they all needed to be tested. We followed them to KNH. They were also told the same thing, because we also post as prospective people who needed to be tested. So 7 times 5,000, that was 35,000. They didn't have that amount. What happens to the rest of the Kenyans who can't afford that?
Okay.
Hello, my name is Eunice Omolo from NTV. I have 2 questions. The first one is the attitude among Kenyans is they're still in denial that we have COVID-19 in the country, as much as today we've registered the highest number, the 12. So does this mean that the government has not reached, or what effort has the government put to ensure that Kenyans are brought into the reality that COVID-19 is here? Then the second question is in regards to, in a week's time, we've had over 2,000 increase in the number of cases in the country. Did the government gamble with Kenyans' lives by opening up most of these amenities? Thank you.
My name is Dorcas Wangera from Citizen TV. This morning we have established that 22 nurses have tested positive in Pumwani Maternity Hospital, and they say one of the grievances is that they have not been given adequate and quality PPEs. What is the ministry's next course of action? And my second question is, now you're seeing more cases. Is there a likelihood of more mass testing drives, particularly in Nairobi, as it was before?
Final one.
Thank you. My name is Mohammed Ali from TV47. The numbers keep rising even after the ban of the cessation of movement. Is this an indication of more and more infections? Secondly, there have been a lot of complaints and concerns about capacities in counties. Is it a concern to you as a ministry? And lastly, what is your projection on the numbers moving forward? We had some projections some times back, but where do we stand at the moment? Thank you.
Asante sana. Thank you very much. Let me start with the last one, whether the numbers rising is a sign of more and more infections. That is actually what it is. It is actually more infections. That's why we are reporting them. It's higher, and it's expected. As we said earlier, more than a month ago, we took a month ago when people are saying, Kenyans were demanding that we open the place up and we cease cessation of movement a month ago. We said no, because we wanted to have 2 things happen. One of them is counter preparedness, and the other one of them is counter preparedness, and the other one has to do with education of people, education of Kenyans, so that they understand the implication of what is going on, what they must do in order to protect themselves. Because the question is, if you lock up another 1 month and another 1 month, what is the additional asset you're adding to the country? Is another month and another month going to make Kenyans more and more aware? Which Kenyan is not aware now, who is going to be more aware in another 30 days? And I would like to imagine that there is a limit, there is a time that comes, and we said it, and we said we are going to have more increase, we are going to have increased cases, particularly if we don't take personal responsibility and protect ourselves. I had a question, I think it's Dorcas who spoke about PPEs. We have got more PPEs at the moment that we need. So it's a question of individual hospitals and individual units ensuring that they have got them. We have not received any information from the Nairobi management, the hospitals in Nairobi. That is the first time I have ever heard of anybody saying that there is a hospital in Nairobi that doesn't have PPEs. Even next door here has PPEs. So there is no issue, as far as we are concerned, of PPEs lacking. We have got more than enough of PPEs. There is the issue of the denial of Kenyans, that Kenyans are in denial. There is a disease. I don't know which Kenyans you have been talking to, but most Kenyans are not in denial. Those who are in denial, there is nothing you and I can do about. You cannot take people and start whipping them so that they understand that there is a disease. You cannot put them to prison so that they understand that there is a disease. You know, I mean, there was AIDS, and we told Kenyans that there is AIDS. And people are told there is AIDS, and you can die of AIDS. And the government was at the forefront of informing everybody that there is AIDS. And we will continue, even now as the Ministry of Health, informing you that there is AIDS, and it can kill you. But as you well know, it got to the point where it is left to individual responsibility to deal with this. Now, the information is this. There is COVID-19. Even a little kid in the streets of Nairobi is now singing that they can get it. And you can get it. And we can all get it. Even small children. You listen, they'll be telling you. Who are those other people who we are now told don't know that there is COVID-19? And how long do you think it will take for them to actually know that there is COVID-19? So as far as I'm concerned, if somebody is in denial, there is not very much that you can do. One of these days, that denial will disappear very fast. Because even some of the ones that we have been told, even nations, even countries have told us that they are in denial, that there is COVID-19. There are some countries that actually declared there was nothing like COVID-19. But very big people there died of COVID-19. If you go to the same places now, nobody is in denial. So we don't want to have a situation where it is only after we die that we cease to be in denial. I think you can help them. You are the media. And I like the expose that was done by one of the papers today, almost 5-6 pages, of explaining to people, this is what you do when you go there, this is what you do when you go to the other place, you know, and you are told the disease is here. We have even gone further, and we have been brutally honest. In fact, we are being told to soften a little bit, not to tell people that if you are in his county, you cannot be flown into Nairobi. The truth of the matter is that you cannot be flown into Nairobi. Not because we don't want you to come to Nairobi. We would love for you to come to Nairobi. But we are telling you that there is a high possibility that by the time you are thinking of coming to Nairobi, there will probably be no beds in Nairobi because of the number of cases that will be there. And this is something we are borrowing from what we have seen in most of the other countries on earth, including today's figures as we read about, if you watch CNN and other media, what is happening in the United States. So it is a question of preempting this situation. What we are being is preemptive and looking at people and informing them This is what is likely to happen. And when you say that, then obviously, there are those who will be in denial. There are those who will misinterpret to say that we have been overrun, we have been overcome. But we simply are telling people the truth. And I think, as we said earlier, the truth will set you free. I am very saddened about Mark, about the experience that you had. And I can only really apologize to those families that went through that experience, because we have made it very clear that that is not what should happen. I have seen the CEO of Kenyatta National Hospital here. I think he's here. Is Evans here? Yes, Evans is here. So you respond to that. To the issue of whether people are chased away and why, he is here. You respond for himself. Isn't that only fair? It's fair and just. Don't you think so? Yes. Yeah, so I'll give him a chance to respond to that one. And as far as the testing is concerned, I'll also ask Dr. Kuria to respond to that matter of testing. But I cannot emphasize more. I cannot say more that responsibility is not with the government. Responsibility is at the individual level. And I like what I'm seeing with our spiritual community. There are mosques and churches that are simply saying that we are not ready yet, just hold on. That is what is called responsibility. Because if you feel you are not ready, don't do it. So if you are not going to wear a mask and you are not going to keep your distance, stay at home. Maybe that is how you save yourself. So please, do not try and transfer. Don't try and transfer irresponsibility or irresponsible behavior back to government responsibility. That is not right, and it is not fair. May I ask Dr. Kamuri to respond to the issues asked about?
Thank you, Waziri. I don't know what the question was, whether we are still testing in Mbagathi. The answer is yes, but who are we testing? After we have opened up, we have left Mbagathi specifically for the sick. Initially, we had separated Mbagathi to have both the suspects and the sick. At the moment, we have only identified Mbagathi now specifically only for the confirmed cases. And as Waziri said last week, the counties have been equipped with systems how they can sort out the patients within the county. We only want to leave Mbagathi for the very sick, and that's why we have stopped the process of triaging within Mbagathi, because we don't want to expose most people, especially who are coming as suspects. We are still doing some testing at Kenyatta, next to a clinic called Clinic 66, but we are still also preferring to test the symptomatic. We don't want the numbers, we don't want people to come to the hospital. The ones who are in the county, we are having a county process. We want the ones in the hospital to be left only for the sick, because when we mix the healthy or the symptomatic and asymptomatic, the exposure becomes more, and that's why we have changed that system, Waziri. About the charges, when you are picked from the county, we are still charging 1,000, but we had put a program for hoteliers. That's what we were charging, the charges we said.
I think Mark, to be fair to Mark, the question has not really been responded to. I think the correct position is this. When we pick people, particularly when we are doing targeted testing, we don't charge anything. All right. When we are doing surveillances and when we are doing those kind of situations, when we go around doing mass testing and mass testing identified as targeted mass testing, we do not charge anything. However, as Daktari is correctly saying, we are not doing testing for everybody. You know, we don't just go to the streets and start testing around. We test because there is some reason why that area, should be focused and tested. As Dr. Amoth explained, I think it was last week, testing is very expensive. And we don't just for the sake of testing as a government. There are private labs that are testing, and we have urged them that 5,000 shillings is way too much money, to test, to charge people on testing. So the truth of the matter is that we are not charging ourselves. 1,000 shillings is when people go to those government hospitals and present themselves, not because they have been identified as sick, but because for whatever reason they feel that they should be tested. But the government hospitals, we are not charging anything like 5,000 shillings. That is not us. I would like to ask Dr. Kuria to respond to some of the testing issues.
Thank you very much, CS. I think you have answered the question very well, sir. And I would link this to one of the questions that had been asked about attitude. And I was reading somewhere on the social media where someone was asking where the 3,000 figures that we are announcing are coming from. It comes at an important time when we are launching these vehicles for contact tracing and surveillance. And the answer is that those that we are testing are coming mainly from our surveillance efforts, the contact tracing and responding to alerts. And that is what these vehicles are going to be responding to, alerts. Those that are jumping from hospital to hospital, seeking testing, we know there is a clamor for everyone to get tested because it is wrong that the attitude is not there. Kenyans are actually scared now, and everyone is seeking to be tested. But the way they are seeking to be tested is also wrong, because our testing strategy, on the other hand, is different. It is not asking everyone, let me test you, or that anyone comes, I want a test. We cannot afford that. CS has just said it's fair and expensive exercise. So we have drawn out a new strategy, we're calling them targeted, more focused targeted testing, and it's going to be more syndromic. We are starting mainly with those who are symptomatic, and this will be coming from the alerts that we are receiving from the communities. And at the time that the alerts are sent, then we send rapid response teams to where the individual is. So we don't want individuals jumping from homes to every other hospital. We are spreading the infection even further. And even those who are following those 7, you are establishing yourselves as contacts already. So we want those that have symptoms to call the same number, 719, and a rapid response team will be coming to you and will be tested from site. And as the CS has said here, that testing is free. So those who are jumping, looking for testing in Kenyatta and be charged 5,000, they should have called the RRT team, the rapid response teams. Testing was going to be free. We're also focusing, of course, on healthcare workers. And again, even for the healthcare workers, we want to focus mainly on those who are symptomatic. While we are doing contact tracing, we follow up those that have had contacts with those suspected cases and contacts with the healthcare workers. Again, we are prioritizing this for our testing. So our testing strategy, which is being rolled out as we speak, has clear details and priorities of who we are testing. Where mass testing comes in is when we establish that a certain locality is establishing itself as a cluster of positive cases. Now we want to go and test people there. Most of those have symptoms and close contacts, and if possible then ring fence that area to contain that infection. So we have clear strategies and clear reasons for testing, and it is not to be charged. Hope that answers you. Thank you.
May I just please follow up on Pumwani Maternity Hospital, the crisis? Will it be closed or not now that 22 nurses have tested positive for COVID-19?
The situation will be assessed by the medics, and so far, if we have been able to isolate, I know that we have been able to isolate everybody. I know there is mass testing that has happened in the entire hospital. I think yesterday we isolated 2 more yesterday. So if we are confident that the hospital is clean and we don't have the same situation, then it is not necessary to close the hospital. But of course, the safety of people and the safety particularly of children and infants in the hospital will be paramount and #1 concern. Before we proceed to the vehicles, I would like to ask Governor Tolgos to say something on behalf perhaps of the other governors who are not here.
Thank you, CS and PS, members of the press. I want to take this opportunity on behalf of all the 47 counties to first of all appreciate Ministry of Health for the support that they've been giving us on this COVID issue. And CS, I want to also take this time to clear the air, because I've been reading a lot of information that counties are not prepared. Last week, there are a number of counties that they indicated that they don't have ventilators, they don't have ICU beds, and Elgeyo Marakwet was among the list. And I want to confirm today, Bwana CS, that in Elgeyo Marakwet we have 5 ICU beds in our isolation center, and we are setting up additional 3. We have a total number of 11 ventilators. And to just tell the members of the press that they need to visit counties and verify before writing or reporting to the public that counties are not prepared. Again, I think all the support that we received from the ministry, we want to appreciate. The PPEs, as you've mentioned, I want to confirm that we've received PPEs, and whenever we request, we get them. So I want to confirm that. And also on the issue of testing, I think to just confirm that one time there's a young man in my county who called the emergency line and indicated that he was from Mombasa, he came to Nairobi and went to Elgeyo Marakwet, which was a lie, of course, but the team looked for him. The county response team, comprising of the county government and the national government, he was picked and taken to quarantine, and he was tested free of charge. So I want to confirm that. Maybe the only thing, Bwana CS, where we still receive a lot of complaints are the hotel owners, because the charges are still high, but I'm sure that will be sorted out. So for me, on behalf of the Council of Governors, want to appreciate, and especially for the surveillance vehicles that we are receiving today, and to still request Bwana CS that 13 counties are receiving, and I know we all need the support. So when you get more vehicles, please consider the remaining counties. But for now, I want to appreciate and to request that we continue working together, and to assure the media, to inform the members of public that counties are ready. Even now, if a case happens in any county, those cases will be dealt at the county level. There will be no referrals to Nairobi or any other hospital. We will deal with them at the county level. So thank you so much, and really appreciate the support.
Asante. Let's go then. Haya, twende. Wacha nikupe gari kwa.
That is the Interior Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe there flagging off the vehicles that have been received this morning that are said to be going to different counties to help in the transportation challenge that has been experienced during this particular time when the country is battling with the COVID-19 pandemic. The CS there earlier said that these vehicles will be going to 13 high-risk counties, which include the county of Nairobi, which according to his announcement is going to be receiving 2 vehicles, plus other counties that have been listed there that are going to benefit from this particular project that has costed about 200 million Kenyan shillings. It's coming at a time when, according to today's numbers, 189 people have tested positive to COVID-19. This is after a test was done on 1,205 people. This brings to 10,294 the total number of cases that have been recorded with regards to COVID-19 in the country. But one of the things that came forth from the CS's announcement this particular morning is that unfortunately, we've recorded the highest number of fatalities since we reported the first case of COVID-19. 12 people have died in the last 24 hours, and this is actually a figure that has not been reported before. This brings to total 197 people who have succumbed to COVID-19 so far, and 3 cases died at home. The 3 among the 12 that were reported this particular morning died at home, and all the 12 people that succumbed to COVID-19 in the last 24 hours died in Nairobi County. But giving an assurance, Mutahi Kagwe said that we are still in control of this pandemic because so far the health systems have not been overrun by the demand. So counties are prepared. We even saw the governor of Elgeyo Marakwet County, Alex Tolgos, they are also supporting this particular stand that counties indeed have done what they can to prepare in battling this particular pandemic. ICU beds and all the necessary equipment are being put in place across the counties just to make sure that the counties are prepared to mitigate the spread of COVID-19. But one of the biggest challenges in the fight against COVID-19, according to Mutahi Kagwe, has been the issue of contact tracing. But these vehicles are going to go a long way to help in the movement around the counties just to be able to ensure that the issue of contact tracing that has been quite a challenge is eased up. But he also said that a lot is being done, including the rolling out of a web-based application that is going to help in the management of health data going forward. So officials are currently being trained on how to work with this particular web-based application, just part of the ongoing efforts of making it easy to deal with the issue of contact tracing in the country. But as it stands, 10,294 people have tested positive to COVID-19 since the first case was reported in the country. We'll be giving you more details about this particular developing story as the day progresses. Now, moving on, the Standard Gauge Railway passenger services have resumed their operation after a 2-month interruption following the outbreak of coronavirus in the country. Amid this resumption, the train services are expected to operate under strict protocols put in place by the government. Last week, Transport Cabinet Secretary James Macharia disclosed that the SGR will operate at half its normal capacity with an extra coach set aside for isolation.
Travel between Nairobi and Mombasa through the Standard Gauge Railway has resumed a week after President Uhuru Kenyatta eased restrictions on the containment of coronavirus pandemic. The first train left Nairobi for Mombasa minutes after 8 a.m. with a handful of passengers and top government officials at hand to supervise the takeoff while ensuring that the safety guidelines outlined by the Ministry of Health are strictly adhered to.
Our compliance levels are too high, as we have seen this morning. We are screening all our passengers from the point of entry to the point of ticketing and to the point where they have to wait before they board the train.
In observance of the social distancing guidelines, the train will carry a maximum of 600 passengers in 10 coaches, while an additional coach will be used to isolate passengers who might be infected with the virus. Additionally, all customer-facing employees shall wear masks and gloves. As of this morning, all passenger services staff serving customers have tested negative for COVID-19.
And inside the train, we have put all measures in place. Our staff, as you have seen this morning, we have put them in special clothing to make sure that as they interact with the passengers, they are well taken care of.
Speaking to the press after the takeoff, Kenya Railways Corporation Managing Director Philip Jamhuri Mainga said despite the train operating at 50% capacity, the fares remain the same.
We are operating our normal fares. We are not changing anything. We are moving the 50% in compliance with the government directive, And for now, we will wish to sustain that and move and see what happens gradually.
The 10-coach train is expected in Mombasa at around 1 p.m. and will set out for the second trip, reaching Nairobi at around 6:40 p.m., providing ample time for passengers to reach home before the start of the 9 p.m. curfew.
To release or to launch and make sure that the first service to Mombasa after lockdown we resume. So let's not get engaged on those others.
And a quick one, during...
For Channel 1 News, I am Emily K. Bade.
All right, now let's rerun this story for you. Nominated Member of Parliament David Ole Sankok want the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission to probe legislators who perennially fail to attend parliamentary sessions. Sankok, who was rated among the top-performing MPs by a report authored by Mzalendo Trust, says it was immoral for his colleagues to abdicate their duties while enjoying perks courtesy of the electorate.
In the report released last week by Mzalendo Trust agencies, Subanov MP Millie Odhiambo emerged top in terms of contribution in the National Assembly, followed by nominated MP David Sankok, who represents persons with disabilities. And amid raging debate over the contents of the report, Sankok has now hit at his colleagues who failed to attend House sittings.
Wala ambao wanasema sijui Mzalendo wamefanya vibaya, ati hao haongei bunge kwa sababu kuna Kiingereza mingi bunge na wako sawa kwa ground. Kwani wewe ni contractor? Kwani wewe ni mtu wa mkono? Hata CDF yenyewe iko na fund manager, iko na chairman wa CDF. Sasa unataka hao wafanye kazi gani kama wewe unaenda kwa ground?
Sankok saying he has always been attending parliamentary sittings as it is his duty to represent the over 6.4 million Kenyans with disabilities.
Issues of person with disabilities are cross-cutting. Wakati ambao wanaleta gender top-up rule, lazima nikuwe hapo hiyo sheria ikitengenezwe. Nikiseme ama niulize nafasi ya mama walemavu iko wapi? Wakati ambao wanaleta sheria ya vijana, lazima nikuwe hapo. Niseme pia kuna vijana ambao wako walemavu.
This even as he urged the electorate to make use of the report to vote out leaders who failed to focus on their interest in parliament. Yusuf Fora, Channel 1 News.
Thank you, Yusuf, for that report. Now, moving on, a secondary school dropout from Migori County has invented an automatic hand-washing machine. Alexis Okech from Ogwethi village in Suna East Sub-County, who once hoped to become an electronic engineer, used locally available materials to make a machine that automatically dispenses soap or sanitizer and water.
Miles away in Ongwethi village in Suna East Sub-County, we locate Alexis Okech. A spirited Okech dropped out of school after he lost his parents and was taken in by his grandmother.
Kwa kweli mzazi wangu mama alifariki kama niko mdogo, sijamuona vizuri. Sasa niliishi na baba, baadaye baba akafariki. Nikabaki na mama ya baba, tukaishi naye. Sasa nikaona vile hakuna namna ya kuendelea na masomo, nikaenda kuongea na mafundi wenye wanatengeneza maredio, wakanikubalia, nikaanza kujifunza hapo, nikienda shule.
Poverty saw him supplement his grandmother's income with apprenticeship at a radio and TV repair shop. Ultimately, he dropped out of school in Form 2, and with that, his dreams of becoming an electronic engineer. Since 1999, he tried working in different electronic companies, often getting contracts purely based on skills he learned over the years.
Kuna mwindi mwingine rafiki yangu pia nilikonektiwa naye, nikapata nafasi nikafanya naye kazi pale inaitwa Nairobi West. Tena kuna rafiki alinikonekta nikafanya kazi mahali inaitwa kampuni inaitwa Fanscapes. Nilikuwa hapo kama technician. Ingawa wako angalia masomo yangu, walisema sisi bora tumeona uko na quality za kufanya hii kazi.
The idea of creating an automatic hand washing machine came after his son prodded him to do the same when the first COVID-19 case was reported in Migori County.
Siku ambayo walitangaza corona imefika Migori County, ikanisumbua sana kwa sababu niko na watoto hapa na mama na marafiki wananitembelea mbali. Sasa nikafikiria kuna mtoto wangu mdogo pia ni mtu ambaye kwa kivyake anapenda electronics. Akanikasa, baba, si utengeneze kitu ambayo tunaweza nao naye kulingana vile wanatangaza hii kitu hapa. Nikafikiria kwa siku 3, baada ya siku ya 4 nikaanza kutengeneza, siku ya 5 nilifaulu.
After days in his workshop, he came up with the invention, which sent him back by about 10,000 shillings to invent a sensor which can detect a hand under a dispenser for both soap and water. The invention is from skills learned through polytechnics or apprenticeship and can address the plight of huge numbers of unemployed youth. The invention can be used in private homes, in dining halls, and in high human traffic areas like hotels, hospitals, schools, and churches. Okech has, however, called for support to help in mass production. Caroline Kamau reporting for Channel 1 News.
Keep going, Alexis. I hope he gets the much needed support for this particular initiative. Now, a global look at the state of coronavirus spread. The United States has recorded over 56,000 new coronavirus cases, including at least 15,000 in the state of Florida, pushing the nationwide total to over 3.4 million cases with more than 137,000 deaths. Over 13 million people around the world have been diagnosed with COVID-19 and almost 571,000 have succumbed, according to a tally by Johns Hopkins University.
New infections in the last 20.
Coronavirus cases in the United States continue to surge, even as President Donald Trump presses schools to reopen, threatening to cut funds to those that defy the policy. The U.S. added more than 56,000 new coronavirus cases, including at least 15,000 in the state of Florida, pushing the nationwide total to 3.4 million cases with more than 137,000 deaths. The development coming as the World Health Organization confirmed a record increase in global coronavirus cases, with the total rising by over 230,000 in just 24 hours. Brazil, the world's #2 coronavirus hotspot after the US, has registered 631 more deaths, with a new total of at least 1.8 million confirmed cases. Brazil now has an official total of over 72,150 deaths as of the end of Sunday. And Mexican officials say the number of COVID-19 deaths has surpassed 35,000, making it the country with the fourth highest death toll worldwide, surpassing Italy. The country's confirmed cases are nearing 300,000. Meanwhile, 1 in 3 South Korean patients seriously ill with COVID-19 showed an improvement in their condition after receiving antiviral drug remdesivir. And South Africa has extended measures to curb the spread of coronavirus as the number of cases in the country continue to rise. A curfew has been reimposed starting Monday between 9 p.m. to 4 a.m., while wearing a mask is now mandatory in all workplaces, vehicles, and common closed areas. Elsewhere, India's coronavirus caseload has passed 870,000, prompting authorities to announce a week-long lockdown in the southern technology hub of Bangalore. This as hundreds of thousands of Catalonian residents were ordered back into lockdown on Sunday as coronavirus cases spiked in the Spanish region and new figures showed infection accelerating in many other parts of the world. Over 13 million people around the world have been diagnosed with COVID-19 and over 571,000 have died, according to a tally by Johns Hopkins University. Almost 7.5 million patients have recovered. For Channel 1 News, I am Emily K. Bade.
We now cross over to the world of business. The latest news is that Kenya is now staring at a debt distress due to slow revenue growth that has pushed the current account deficit to almost 7% this year. The African Development Bank is warning that rising unemployment and the impact of COVID-19 on business is expected to push more people into poverty. The bank further says East Africa's economic growth for 2020 is projected at 1.2% in the baseline scenario and 0.2% in the worst case scenario.
The African Development Bank annual economic report lays bare the dire economic situation facing the East African region, where all the 6 countries are at serious risk of debt distress. The region's fiscal deficit is driven mainly by huge infrastructure expenditure and low tax revenue collection. The average fiscal deficit for the region is estimated at 4.9% of GDP in 2019 and is expected to worsen to around 7% in the year 2020. Kenya's fiscal deficit has worsened to around 6% in 2019, and it is expected to widen to 9%, the largest in 4 years, as the government implements revenue-cutting measures to shield citizens from negative impacts of coronavirus.
Even normally, before the onset of COVID, the revenue projections are sometimes not met because the collection of revenue depends on a number of things, certain measures and certain predictions, certain also tax, which has been highlighted in the finance bill. So normally, it's not been very easy to collect 100%. But the situation has actually been made worse by COVID because of drastic reduction in economic activities, mainly in the hospitality sector, the transport sector. Import duty has also gone down, and generally a number of even profits by the various corporates have gone down.
The risk of debt distress has increased in Ethiopia, Eritrea, Kenya, South Sudan, and Sudan. The region's current account deficit has projected to slightly deteriorate to 6% of GDP in 2020 from 5.9% in 2019, and this has been revised in the wake of COVID-19 to 7% of GDP. East Africa's GDP growth was projected to be 5.1%, but because of coronavirus complications, it is expected to grow by 1.2%. All East African countries were projected to positively contribute to the growth, except for Sudan, whose economy was projected to slow by 1.6% in 2020 due to conflict. Consequently, the region's 2020 growth is projected at 1.2% in the baseline scenario and 0.2% in the worst-case scenario.
Now, moving on, it is all systems go ahead of resumption of domestic flights come Wednesday. According to the Kenya Airways, it has scheduled 2 daily flights to the coastal city of Mombasa and 1 daily flight to the lakeside city of Kisumu. The airline further expects to review options of increasing frequencies upon rise in demand. And as Regina Manyara-Gitao tells us, passengers as well as crew will be required to adhere to the laid-down health protocols.
Kenya Airways has been grounded for the past 3 months necessitated by coronavirus pandemic.
Suspended or gave restrictions to the airspace of Kenya. It was through a notice to airmen that I issued that stopped all airlines flying in and out of Kenya. We will oversight each particular agency to see that they're doing what they're supposed to do when our airspace reopens. Our role is to oversight that what they are doing is in agreement with a protocol that we developed.
The return to inter-country service coincides with the lifting of Kenya's lockdown, and travel between counties and now Kenyans will take to the skies this week under the new health protocols.
Now in the plane we also have very strict protocol that will help to again make sure that the entire journey is safe. For example, things like making sure that we have people wear masks, make sure that our lavatories, our seats, the entire cabin is properly cleaned and fumigated frequently. Also, in terms of even the things that they use, the blankets and all the things that they use at the aircraft are also sanitized at a regular basis, and they're only used once.
Kenya Airways says the airline will fly 2 times daily to the coastal city of Mombasa and once each day to the lakeside city of Kisumu as it continues to review the option of increasing frequencies as demand peaks. The resumption of domestic flights is expected to boost domestic tourism that has recorded an all-time low.
Even if we have a resumption of flights and an opening up of cessation of movement from county to county, it will begin to open up our industry. So at the moment, that's the bare minimum that we'd be happy with. Unfortunately for us, it's a reset button completely. It's restarting the business that tourism was able to offer. Because the product of tourism is consumed by travelers, and travelers have got different personalities.
Passengers on board, however, will be required to adhere to the safety measures and protocols in place, which will be reviewed where necessary for safety purposes. In August, the national carrier plans to resume international flights as part of government's plan to invigorate the economy amid COVID-19 disruptions. Regina Manyara reporting for Channel 1 Business.
And now on to some international business news. Alibaba Group Holdings co-founder Jack Ma has cashed out an estimated $9.6 billion worth of stakes that he holds in the e-commerce giant in the past year. Ma reduced his stakes in the company from 6.4% to 4.8% in the firm's annual filing released Friday. Details of this and more in our international business news roundup.
Billionaire Chinese entrepreneur divestment follows his retirement as the e-commerce company's executive chairman last September and pulled back from formal business roles to focus on philanthropy. Alibaba did not disclose the average selling price of his cash out. Its share price has risen around 40% since Ma reported his 6.4% holding in the company a year ago. Alibaba executive vice chairperson Joseph Tsai also reduced his stake in the company over the same period from 2.3% to 1.6%. The offloaded shares were worth $4.1 billion as of Friday. Both Ma and Tsai have been steadily less involved in Alibaba's regular operations since Daniel Zhang was announced as Ma's successor as company chairman. He assumed that role formally in September 2019. An April 2019 filing with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission stated that Ma would plan to sell up to 21 million shares within 1 year to support his philanthropic efforts. Meanwhile, the world's leading oil producers are expected to announce an increase in output this week amid signs that demand is rising. Oil cartel OPEC is due to hold a meeting on Tuesday and Wednesday to discuss its next move. Analysts predict major producers will agree to ease supply cuts that were imposed in April to prop up prices. OPEC and its allies, OPEC Plus, cut daily oil output by 9.7 million barrels as the pandemic saw demand collapse. That agreement was made to help ease the effects of an oil glut caused by the lockdowns and to stabilize prices. Brent crude, which is the global benchmark for oil, is down around 30% this year, while U.S. traded West Texas Intermediate WTI fell below zero at 1 point in April. Expectations are growing that from next month, those carbs will be reduced to 7.7 million a day, meaning that output will increase by 2 million barrels a day. And BT CEO Philip Johnson has urged the British government not to move too fast to ban China's Huawei from the 5G network, cautioning that there could be outages and even security issues if it did. Prime Minister Boris Johnson is due to decide this week whether to impose tougher restrictions on Huawei after intense pressure from the United States to ban the Chinese telecom's behemoth from Western 5G networks. In what some have compared to the Cold War antagonism with the Soviet Union, the United States is worried that 5G dominance is a milestone towards Chinese technological supremacy that could define the geopolitics of the 21st century.
Time for us to catch the latest in the world of sports. Manchester City have successfully overturned their 2-year ban from European club competitions. The Court of Arbitration for Sport announced today morning that the club were cleared of disguising equity funds as sponsorship contributions. UEFA's club financial control body issued the ban in February after ruling that City had committed serious breaches of financial fair play regulations between 2012 and 2016. Meanwhile, Manchester United will hope to move up to third position on the table when they host Southampton at Old Trafford tonight. All right. right, and on that sporting note, we've come to the end of KBC Lunchtime News on a day when, according to the announcement by the Health CS Mutahi Kagwe, so far 10,294 people have tested positive to COVID-19 since the first case was reported. 197 people have since succumbed. This is after 12 died in the last 24 hours. We are tracking this particular story and others for you. Our news team is working on some of the developing issues in the country. Catch our subsequent news bulletins at 7 p.m. and at 9 p.m. My name is Serfine Achieng. Have a lovely afternoon.